Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I know I've been away for a little while. So much has been going on. I ended up getting a new job and it's just been a really busy period. But from now on, videos will be more consistent. But this week I thought that I would bring on my husband to give a perspective from a guy's perspective. I thought it might be good to get a bit of a balance, and so you guys don't think that I'm being completely biased from my side. So this is Toby. Toby, say hi to the people.
Hi people.
And yeah, just tell a bit about yourself just so you can...
Okay, my name's Toby. I'm a speaker. I also run a business and do a lot of ministry and speaking around the world really. And also, yeah, I'm a trader, investor. I teach people how to trade financial instruments and invest. Also mentor and coach people as well.
I thought that we would just talk about, we've been married now for 7 months, which to me is crazy, like time has gone so fast. So I thought maybe we could talk about some of the things that we've actually learned on this journey so far. Some of the most important things that you've learned.
Well, we've been speaking for a while now about a topic that has been dear to my heart. We've been speaking about in our time together synergy, the importance of synergy, and how synergy is like it's two energies becoming one energy, merging into one person. Synergy leads to momentum to growth to change, and everything positive that can happen comes from change. But in creating synergy, we talked about a few points.
For me, when we were talking about creating synergy, one of the most important points that stuck out to me was about communication and creating the right environment to be able to kind of communicate openly and freely together without fear of judgment, without any kind of fear, without even just holding back, and just being able to be yourself and kind of come openly, really.
Yeah. And communication is said lightly, like it's easy, but communication it takes work. But it takes
work.
Yeah. But it's the most important thing about communication is providing an environment.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing it as an invading force. You know, the man's come back from work tired and exhausted, said, "Baby, we need to talk." Suddenly a storm rolls into the room. And he's thinking, oh God, what do we need to talk about? You need to create the environment where conversation is organic and it's natural, and communication is organic and natural.
Yeah.
But I think another point that really hit me was finding common interest.
Yeah.
And that's a really big point of synergy. It's finding things that you can find in common. Like, this is Nicola's thing. I sometimes come on board and I want to support your media and what you're doing with your vision to really touch the lives of people around the world. And a lot of the time she comes with me when I travel to speak in places, and she now speaks as well, and also with the trading you help.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be like on the big things, even as something as small. I'm not someone who watches television. Like,
I am.
Yeah, he can
movies.
sit down and watch television back to back for an entire day. I can probably get through 1 episode, 2 episodes, and then by then I'm bored and I'm fidgeting. But I understand that in building relationship, I also have to take an interest, even though it's not really my thing, and try and be involved. And even if I'm not enjoying it, try and act like I'm enjoying it until I begin to enjoy it. I mean, even earlier on today, I watched 3 episodes back to back and then a movie, and I was laughing the whole way through. I genuinely had a good time, but even that was practiced and exercised, because it definitely wasn't something I would have done before. Having an attitude of gratitude and being grateful, and not criticizing your spouse or your partner all the
So
time.
that's a huge one, because what we do a lot of the times is we internalize our gratitude and vocalize our criticism.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have a good, solid relationship, you've got to learn to vocalize what you love about the person with meaning. and also internalize your criticism, not to the point that you feel like you're going to explode, but to the point where you've created the environment for communication. That's when it can come out in an environment of organic communication. But it's learn and learn to just, you know, say, you know what, I really appreciate that you do this. I really appreciate the food you make for me. It tastes so good. It's better than my mom's. Mom, if you're watching, forgive me. I really appreciate.
Sorry, that's not something you should be asking for. Forgive yourself.
So you've got to learn to appreciate everything.
Yeah.
The other thing is you've got to learn to laugh.
With or at each other.
At each other, at yourself.
Yeah.
Because a relationship is a journey, and stop trying to get to the destination. Don't have, you know, enjoy the journey. Look out the window, take some pictures. Enjoy the scenes, enjoy the bad. Find things that, even in the negativity, just to laugh at yourself. I mean, sometimes when I'm really angry with Nicola, it's annoying, like she'll pinch my bum. Can I say that on YouTube? It's annoying. But then she'll laugh and run away or something like that. And I'm angry, but it's just diffused. You know, it's just disempowered the entire anger in the moment. Or sometimes I'll grab her and tickle her or whatever. She wakes me up by jumping on me or something like that. Just learn to fill life with laughter. Stop, you know, there's no such thing as being bored, only boring people. So learn to stop being a boring person, you know, complaining about and learn to enjoy the moments and laugh with your partner.
Which is true. I think where in the past we've gone through so much, and you know, when you go through disappointment after disappointment, sometimes you can feel like you lose yourself in disappointments, and you don't feel like laughing or you don't know how to laugh. So he used to call me a stiff bum all the time. And he used to tell me that you're so boring and you're this and you're that. But you might look at it and think that what he's saying is quite harsh. But I had to sit back and think, okay, even though he's speaking out of a place that's probably anger, I had to analyze the situation myself and say, well, do you know what? Is there actually some truth in this? And then you kind of have to learn from there. And I think that's one thing about being mature, being able to kind of read between the lines, even if somebody speaks out of anger, to really begin to understand what they're actually communicating and not taking everything word for word as what it is, because sometimes there's underlying tones to every kind of conversation.
There's actually a point I taught on communication is empathetic.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Communication is heart to heart.
Yeah.
Stop picking at what someone's saying. That's an argument.
Yeah.
Listen to what the heart is saying, and that's maturity. Maturity has its ear to the heart, not to the words.
Yeah.
It can hear the meaning behind what's being said. And I think a great one that you always talk on in your videos is, we're not the source of each other's happiness.
Yeah.
We're happy people individually, or we should be, or most of the time. Sometimes, you know, you wake up grumpy, had a bad dream or whatever. But you should be able, what I mean is, you should be able to generate happiness within yourself. And there for me is when my relationship with God plays a huge part. I am dependent on God for everything. You can't argue about finances in our family because it's not our source. Our bank account's not our source. Everything we have, and we have a lot of good, does not come from us. It's come on our knees when we pray and we've seen God move on things. So we can't drag on each other and say, who's going to pay the bills? It's God who's going to pay the bills. We're just going to do what we can, because most relationships break down for these issues, finance, money, or whatever. And I think a big final one is probably learn each other's language. Yeah.
And don't take this lightly either, because I see a lot of people who are like, well, she says that she needs words of affirmation, but I'm just not like that, so I don't know how to speak words of affirmation. Well, you better learn how to speak those words of affirmation if that's how the other person receives love. And I think that even us generally, we've kind of struggled in this area a lot, because I'm a kind of person who, needs words of affirmation and quality time. I'd say those are my two biggest ones. Whereas yours is probably acts of service and gifts.
I love gifts. I like a good gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Acts of service. I think I'm quite good at acts of service.
Yeah, very good.
Not so good at. Well, actually, I'm not too bad on the gift. Well, I've definitely gotten better. Even if it's something small, like thinking of him on my way home and picking up a chocolate bar or something like that. But you have to make a conscious effort to be able to communicate how your spouse or your partner receives love.
How do we handle the elephant in the room?
What's that?
When there's a situation that's just being ignored.
How do you handle when there's a situation that's just being ignored? Someone has to bring it out into the open.
I think that's communication.
It all comes down to communication and creating the right environment to be able to speak, and not dragging things on, because when you just drag things on and you go to sleep and you wake up, you leave such a massive door open to the enemy to just come in, make his bed and nest.
Let's leave one takeaway. If you could give a woman, I'll give it for a guy, a takeaway that you would give them as a golden piece of advice that you wish, if your younger person was here, you would have said to your younger self, what would it be?
For me, it would be, do you know what, just generally, it would be to value your relationship with God. And you know, you hear people say this and it sounds so light when people say it, but I got to such a point, I always thought I had a relationship with God, but I basically realized that I had to go deeper and I needed to grow and develop more, and I needed to be more conscious about taking my growth into my hands and things like that. Now I'm at a place where my dependency is completely on God, and I wish that I'd known that earlier, that I wouldn't have looked for that in my relationship beforehand, because it was really when I got into the relationship that I realized my necessity for God. But I wish that I'd figured that out beforehand. And I see so many people, so many young women or so many people now who've got this single period, and it's the best time that you have to prepare, but they're not really seizing it to the fullness. And I think that's what I would advise, to really focus on developing yourself in your relationship with God.
Mine would be content. Especially in the days of your singlehood. Don't be envious of what anyone else has. Don't look at what anyone else has, because you will neglect the greatness of what you have. Be content, be confident in yourself, within yourself. Be happy without a need for someone to make you happy.
Yeah.
And find that completion in God. I think it's lazy. I think it's scary too, to have lived so long and not know why you're here.
Yeah.
I think these are the greatest questions that are on our hearts. You have no reason to be in a relationship if you don't even know why you're here. What's the point? What you'll do effectively then is you'll just drag someone else down on their journey, because you don't know where you're going.
So true.
And they don't know where they're going.
So true.
So I think make the search, soul search. Have the biggest search of your life for why you're here. Don't spend time looking for someone. Spend time finding out why you're here, and then when you discover that, you'll know who you're meant to be with.
Yeah.
Your first marriage should be to yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You should be one with yourself, because if you can't be faithful to yourself, you can't be faithful to another person. And so you marry your purpose, you marry why you're here, you marry that discovery. And in being faithful to that discovery, you can't violate who you are by marrying somebody less than you. Who you're.
So those are just, a few of the things. I'm sure we could go on. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys do have any suggestions, please just comment below or email. I would love to hear what you guys would like to hear as well. And I hope you enjoyed it, and please do rate, comment and subscribe, you know, all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in my next video.